2025, a group of researchers ranked 528 beaches across the United States, scoring each one on shark attacks, surf zone deaths, and hurricane history. And their findings were pretty shocking. Because every single one of the 10 most dangerous beaches sits inside a single state. Florida holds barely a tenth of the country's coastline, yet it's home to all 10 of the deadliest beaches in America. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what makes these waters so dangerous. After that, we'll count down those 10 beaches. From the upscale shorelines hiding a killer in plain sight, to the quiet residential strip that has claimed more lives than any other beach in the country. And be sure to stick around until the end, because I'll be sharing the life-saving advice that can protect you from the unseen threats lurking at every beach on this list. But first things first, we need to understand how every single one of the deadliest beaches in the country ended up in Florida. The problem begins with the water, or rather, the number of people it attracts. Florida is warm enough to swim year-round, which means its beaches aren't busy for 3 months like the rest of the country. They're busy for all 12. In this state, there are more people in the water all year round than anywhere else in the country. And a huge share of them are tourists, often weak swimmers from landlocked states and countries who have no real experience of reading ocean conditions. Then there's the shape of the coast. Florida's shoreline is essentially a machine for building rip currents. Sandbars, inlets, jetties, and piers all squeeze escaping water into narrow, high-speed channels that fire retreating water straight out to sea. Both the Atlantic side and the Gulf Panhandle each hide their own distinct rip systems, which have claimed countless lives. And as you're about to see, this has a huge role to play in the fatalities that occur in the Sunshine State. In an average year, rip currents kill more people in Florida than hurricanes, tropical storms, tornadoes, severe thunderstorms, and lightning combined. Shark fatalities, on the other hand, kill on average less than 1 person nationwide each year. This is the tragic irony that the beaches we're about to cover, the places that make the headlines, and the beaches that are actually killing people are rarely the same place. So if you're planning a holiday to Florida, there are a few places you're going to want to look out for. Each beach here was judged on documented surf zone deaths, shark records going back to the 1880s, and 174 years of hurricane landfalls. So let's start at number 10 and work our way to the single deadliest shoreline in the country. Number 10, Jupiter Beach Park. Jupiter Beach Park sits at the northern edge of Palm Beach County, fronted by warm, clear Atlantic water and backed by upscale waterfront dining. It draws several 100,000 visitors a year, yet almost none of them clock the danger that lurks, because the danger here is totally invisible. The beach has recorded 5 surf zone deaths and 23 shark encounters, which lands it at 10th nationally in water-related incidents. But the biggest threat here is actually the Jupiter Inlet right beside it. Estuary water funnels through that gap and generates fast, localized rip currents. They can pull a wading swimmer into deep water in seconds, a hazard most people misread because the surrounding scenery looks so tame. But there's a second, quieter threat in the water here. The Florida Department of Health regularly closes this beach due to bacteria, and in October 2025, it banned swimming outright after Enterococcus levels blew past state limits. That same warm, brackish inlet water can also carry Vibrio vulnificus, a flesh-eating bacterium that turns a small cut into a genuine medical emergency. Number 9, Cape Canaveral. Just up the coast, Cape Canaveral is famous for the rockets, with crowds gathering on the sand to watch launches climb out of the Kennedy Space Center. But 6 surf zone deaths and 19 shark encounters put it firmly as the 9th deadliest beach in the country. The offshore shallows here are a winter nursery for blacktip, spinner, and juvenile bull sharks. And the currents near Jetty Park run hard. The deadliest mistake happens every time someone watches a family member go under and follows them in. That's exactly what happened at Apollo Beach in June 2021. Despite the no swimming signs, a father and his 3-year-old son got caught in a strong tidal current as the channel water rushed back into the bay. A Good Samaritan jumped into the water in an attempt to save them, but all 3 lost their lives. Sadly, instances like this are the single most repeated death pattern on this list, and unfortunately, this won't be the last time you hear a similar story. Number 8, Miramar Beach. Miramar Beach, on the Gulf side, along Walton County's scenic 30A corridor, has 0 shark attacks in its recorded history. But with several documented surf zone deaths, there's danger here that should make any beachgoer wary. The trap here is a belief that the Gulf of Mexico is a calm, lake-like bathtub, but the seafloor says otherwise. Shifting sandbars create deep troughs just offshore. Swimmers wade out to a sandbar at low tide, only to find a fast-moving rip cutting through it as the tide rises. It sweeps them off their feet and into deep water, and it happens on days the surface looks flat. In February 2023, lifeguards reached a cluster of struggling swimmers 150 yards offshore near the Miramar Beach regional access. A 20-year-old man had already gone under. They found him 12 minutes later, and he didn't survive. A red flag had been flying the whole time, yet once again, the warnings had been ignored. Number 7, Palm Beach. Palm Beach is home to high-end estates, exclusive resorts, and millions of affluent visitors a year. Yet, it also poses a dual threat, landing its 7th on our list with a track record of 7 surf zone deaths and 35 shark encounters. The sharks are partly drawn here by people. This is heavy sport fishing water, and discarded bait and fish remains pull large migratory sharks toward the shoreline. Layer on the rip currents that spin up when strong easterly winds hit the nearshore troughs, and the surf can turn from gentle to violent before a swimmer registers the change. And what's glaringly apparent at this beach is that the strongest swimmer in the family is often the one who doesn't come back. In April 2026, 46-year-old Ryan Jennings drowned off Juno Beach after pulling both his children out of a rip current. He held his daughter above the water until she was reached, saved them both, and then ran out of strength before anyone could save him. Number 6, Cocoa Beach. Cocoa Beach is the Space Coast surfing capital, home to a famous pier and millions of visitors. Its fatality history of 7 surf zone deaths and 39 shark encounters is shaped directly by that surf culture. Surfers sit for hours with hands and feet dangling and churned up, sediment-heavy water, and sharks hunting bait fish in that murk mistake a moving limb for prey. The result is the classic Cocoa Beach hit-and-run bite, fast and defensive. While this type of attack is rarely fatal, it's a real and frequent injury. The drownings are the deadlier story, and here a decision on land made them worse. After a lawsuit in early 2026, the orange life-saving rings stationed at public beach accesses were temporarily pulled, a decision that led to tragedy. In April 2026, 2 adults, 42-year-old Jason DeGray and 34-year-old Ebony Mount, drowned after entering the water to save a child caught in a rip current. The child lived, but both rescuers were pulled under. The rings went back up after public outcry, yet for these visitors, the cost of their removal had already been paid. Up to this point, every beach has carried both threats, some sharks, some surf, but as the list climbs into its top 5, the numbers stop being balanced. The death tolls jump, the rescues multiply, and the water starts doing nearly all of the killing. Number 5, India-Atlantic Boardwalk. At number 5 is the India-Atlantic Boardwalk, and at first glance, India-Atlantic looks like the safest place on this list. It's a quiet, palm-lined residential stretch on a Brevard County barrier island, the kind of beach you'd let your kids run ahead on. Yet it ranks 5th with 9 surf zone deaths, because that residential calm is exactly what makes it lethal. The seafloor here funnels outgoing tidal water into deep channels that run straight out from shore, and that compression accelerates rip currents to more than 8 feet per second. That's about 5 miles per hour, a speed faster than an Olympic swimmer can move at. No swimmer alive outmuscles that current head-on, and the quiet beach has alarmingly few lifeguard towers to pull anyone out. With a deadly rip combined with a lack of safety precautions, the death toll here is becoming increasingly alarming. Between November 2024 and May 2025, 8 people drowned along this single stretch of coast. And almost all of them were out-of-state tourists who had no idea how deadly this water actually is. One of the main reasons why this deadly stretch of water has precious little lifeguard coverage is due to a county funding change that occurred in 2024. The new legislation forced towns to cover half the cost of lifeguards, a 7-fold increase, and Indialantic's coverage got stretched thin across miles of unpatrolled sand. This is a bureaucratic change that has had some devastating real-world consequences. Number 4, Miami Beach. Miami Beach earns 4th place through sheer volume alone. With 13 documented surf zone deaths, it has the highest raw drowning count on the list. But that's a direct reflection of how many tourists, often weak swimmers from landlocked countries, are in the water at any given moment. The deadly conditions here are often dictated by what's happening several miles away. When a hurricane or tropical storm passes far offshore, the weather on the sand stays sunny and bright. But unknown to beachgoers, the storm's swell drives massive, high-speed rip currents into the surf zone. Tourists flood the beach on a beautiful day, ignore the double red flags, and wade into water that is anything but calm underneath. And the ocean here punishes mistakes like this without mercy. In November 2024, 19-year-old Victor Enrique Castañeda Jr. drowned while pulling his younger sister out of a sudden rip current off Miami Beach, in yet another tragic case of a family rescue gone wrong. Due to the sheer volume of visitors, Miami's ocean rescue is among the most skilled in the nation, sometimes pulling more than 70 swimmers from the water in a single weekend. Yet, no matter how skilled the lifeguards are, no team can watch thousands of people in deadly water at once. Number 3, Daytona Beach. Daytona is a wide, hard-packed beach you can drive a car on, and up to 10 million people a year do exactly that. Yet on our list, it ranks 3rd on a brutal double record: 27 surf zone deaths and 67 shark encounters, the 2nd highest in both categories across all 528 beaches. One of the biggest dangers here is due to Daytona's iconic geography. Long sandbars run parallel to the beach and trap water behind them. When the tide recedes, that trapped water blasts back to sea through narrow gaps, firing swimmers hundreds of feet offshore in seconds. And to make matters worse, the nearby inlet pushes nutrient-rich water into the shallows, drawing bull, spinner, and hammerhead sharks straight into the wade zones. And here, the people who die are often the ones attempting to save others. In June 2023, 42-year-old Mark Bryson was wading in shallow water, just 20 feet from shore, with 3 kids, when the sandbar under their feet collapsed. A rip swept the group 300 feet out. He pushed his son, his niece, and his sister-in-law towards safety, and then he went under. The water that looked ankle deep killed the only adult strong enough to save the others. Number 2, Laguna Beach. Laguna Beach is a quiet residential strip in the Florida Panhandle, a few miles west of Panama City Beach. It's the kind of low-key family spot you'd never flag as dangerous, yet it ranks 2nd in the entire country, and it does so almost entirely on drowning. This beach has experienced 39 surf zone deaths, the highest documented toll of any of the 528 beaches in the study. The reason for that is that the Panhandle hides some of the most dangerous rip systems in North America. Steep drop-offs just offshore make waves break hard, and all that energy has to escape back to sea. The result is rip currents running 4 to 5 miles per hour. And because Laguna is a residential area, it has a fraction of the lifeguards and funding of its tourist-heavy neighbors. A swimmer in trouble has almost no rescue net beneath them. Here, a minor struggle can quickly become a fatal one. And it doesn't matter how fit or how local you are when the water moves this fast. In June 2024, 3 men in their 20s from Alabama drowned in a rip current within hours of arriving for vacation. They were caught and exhausted before they understood what was happening. The danger here is no secret, and the law even attempts to prevent it. When double red flags fly, entering the Gulf is an arrestable offense. But across miles of unpatrolled residential sand, the law is almost impossible to enforce, and for some, the water proves too tempting. So Laguna Beach drowns more people than anywhere else, and Daytona logs more sharks and more rescues. But neither one is the beach the study crowned the single most dangerous in America. That title belongs to a place famous for the one threat that has never actually killed anyone at all. Number 1, New Smyrna Beach. Finally, number 1 on our list is New Smyrna Beach. New Smyrna sits on Florida's central east coast in Volusia County, just south of the Ponce de Leon Inlet, and it is statistically the most dangerous beach in the United States. It has even earned an unwanted title from the Guinness World Records as the shark bite capital of the world. Since the 1880s, it has recorded more than 300 shark bites, more than the other 9 beaches on this list combined. That shark risk is a direct result of the beach's unique geography. You see, the inlet beside the beach flushes the Halifax River and Intracoastal Waterway into the Atlantic, funneling baitfish into the surf and attracting hundreds of blacktip and spinner sharks into feed. The same jetties that organize that flow also create clean, consistent waves, packing surfers into the exact water where the sharks are hunting. The tides turn everything brown, so the sharks hunt by movement, and a dangling foot or surfboard fin reads as a fish. As we've already seen, that's the recipe for a hit-and-run shark attack, and it plays out several times a year. One such case happened in July 2025.
Tonight, the violent shark attack caught on camera. A man spotted fighting for his life, blood in the water.
And then all of a sudden, I just feel like something clamp on the foot and just yank me off, almost like a cartoon.
18-year-old surf instructor Sam Hollis was dragged briefly underwater by his foot before he kicked free. So New Smyrna Beach has more shark attacks than anywhere else in the world, but there's an important caveat to that statistic, because with all the 300 recorded bites, not one person has ever been killed by a shark here. Once again, while the shark attacks make the headline, the rip currents are the true killers here, with 12 surf zone drownings being recorded. But perhaps the most unassuming proven killer here comes from the sky. New Smyrna is prone to dry lightning, bolts that travel from storm cells miles away and strike under a clear blue sky. In June 2025, a 29-year-old tourist from Colorado was killed by one of these strikes on the sand, sitting beneath open blue with no storm anywhere overhead. Look across all 10, and the pattern is impossible to miss. The danger almost never matches the headline. These beaches rack up shark records that make the news, while the water itself does the quiet work of drowning people who never felt afraid. The rip currents, the collapsing sandbars, the cold pull of the backwash, that's what actually fills the death tolls. So while swimming in Florida, or any beach for that matter, the United States Life-Saving Association advises the following tips for a safe and fun day at the beach. Firstly, if you see a red flag flying on the beach, just don't go in the water. That flag is up for a reason, and ignoring it puts you, your family, and potential Good Samaritans in danger. Rips can be surprisingly strong, even in shallow water, and ignoring the red flag warning is just asking for trouble. But if the conditions are fine and swimming is permitted, you should also take some precautions. The easiest of which is to swim on a monitored beach near a lifeguard. At a beach with United States Life-Saving Association affiliated lifeguards on duty, your odds of drowning are roughly 1 in 18 million. Of course, there's still a chance you will get caught in rip. And if this is the case, then the important thing to remember is to resist the urge to fight it. Sadly, the instinct that kills people is the one screaming at you to swim straight back to shore. But regardless of how good a swimmer you are, current is stronger than you, and fighting it head-on only burns the energy you need to survive. A rip won't pull you under, it pulls you out. So stay calm, let it carry you until the grip loosens, then swim parallel to the beach to break free before angling back in with the waves. And the moment you feel yourself tiring, flip onto your back and float, because conserving energy is what keeps you alive long enough to be reached. But the hardest rule of all is the one nearly every victim on this list ignored. If you see someone caught in a rip, do not go in after them. That single act of instinct from a parent, a sibling, or even a strong swimmer eager to help is the most repeated cause of death from fatalities on the beach. If you do see someone in trouble, throw them something that floats, call for a lifeguard, and keep your own feet on solid ground. Even trained lifeguards won't attempt a rescue without a flotation device, and neither should you. Most visitors to every beach on this list go home perfectly fine. And if you respect the flags, never chase anyone into a rip, and remember that the calmest looking water is often the most dangerous, you will too.